With regards to licensing and registration of counselors and psychologists in Kenya, we currently have a board, the Counselors and Psychologists Board of Kenya. And this board regulates people who practice as psychologists in this country. So what I encourage you to find out is if your therapist is registered and licensed with the Counselors and Psychologists Board. And that gives you an idea of whether they're practicing legally or illegally. So when the board was put in place, it became a rule that as a psychologist, you are supposed to be registered and licensed by the Counselors and Psychologists Board. The registration is one-off. You pay 5,000 and your registration is done for the rest, I guess, the rest of your life, or as long as you are in good standing with the board. And the licensing is an annual thing. So you get licensed in January of every year, and your license expires in December of the same year. And the next year, you get licensed again, and it expires at the end of the year. And this happens every single year. So when you ask your psychologist whether they have the registration and the license from the Counselors and Psychologists Board, you want to hear a yes. Or if they don't have the license, they might have the registration, and you might find that maybe they started their licensing process recently, so their license is not out yet. But at least, no matter what you do, at least make sure that the psychologist you're working with, the counselor you're working with, the therapist you're working with, they could be calling themselves any of those names, make sure they have a registration certificate from the Counselors and Psychologists Board of Kenya. And they should give you a reasonable reason as to why they are not licensed yet. And you have to determine whether that's something that you agree with or something that does not make sense, and then feel free to question them. Nobody should be offended if you ask them why they are not registered or and licensed with the Counselors and Psychologists Board.